Okay, in this video we're checking out the Fullspeed Toothpick. This is another one of these ultra lightweight micro FPV racers. This one is going to be highly compared to the Sailfly from Happymodel. I will get to that later in the video, so stay tuned for that. But I'm going to cover what's in this model first. We have a StretchDex carbon frame here. It's a 1.5mm bottom plate, and I believe this canopy here and a lot of these parts are similar or pretty much same as what was in the tiny leader, which had the basically the whoop ducts. I think the biggest difference is the motors. These have 1103 8000 kV motors, and the tiny leader had the 1103 11000 kV motors and spinning a smaller prop. So this is spinning the bigger 65mm gem fan prop. These are the newer versions, I think. These might be King Kongs, I'm not 100% sure, but they have the 1.5mm prop shaft for these motors with a bigger motor shaft here. And this does come with the Caddx EOS 2 camera. I believe it's the 4.3 version, same as on the tiny leader. This one happens to come with a Fullspeed micro FreeSky receiver. It's a D8 mode receiver. Something to note about this receiver is that it is like mode switchable between like S-Bus and inverted S-Bus. So there, if you go to the product page, there's a description on how to switch it into the mode that will work for this flight controller, which I believe is the non-inverted mode. But if you use this receiver and something else, or if it happens to not be in the correct mode, you have to follow the instructions on that page to switch it into that mode. But mine came in the correct mode. It worked fine. It was built like this out of the box with the FreeSky receiver. You can also get FlySky and Spectrum versions, or you can get, of course, this plug and play, no receiver at all. The flight controller is an F4 flight controller, 12 amp 4-in-1 ESC. Both of these boards are 16 by 16 boards. Also, I believe that these are the same parts in the tiny leader. And then the bottom board there, which is rotated 45 degrees, is the video transmitter, power switchable up to 600 milliwatts, and it is VTX remote control, so it's power switchable via your transmitter, and you can change your bands and channels as well. I believe also that is the same part that was in the tiny leader, so basically all the same parts. So lower kV motor and on the StretchDex frame. So as I mentioned, 1.5mm bottom plate. It is 120mm motor to motor, 70mm side to side, and 100mm front to back. So yeah, this is the main difference between this and the Sailfly. The Sailfly is a true X, this is a StretchDex. So plus the weight is also another big difference. A couple things here right off the bat that I don't like. I'm not sure why they're still using these plugs. This should be a direct solder instead of using the plugs here, because you're not really going to be changing these motors that often. And then they even have this little extension thing here, because this you can see the different color. The yellow, red, and black cable goes into this little extender, and which is just 3 black wires to fit into this plug. That's one thing I would recommend they change. Yeah, because you don't really need it, and it's just extra weight. Yeah, and the Caddx camera has some dust in it. You'll see that in the video. Seems to be a trend lately with a lot of the Caddx cameras. You just have to unscrew the lens, blow the dust out with a can of air, and then re-screw the lens on. You probably will have to make sure you check the focus as well. Make sure it's focused when you put it back on. Something that I wish they would fix at the factory, but apparently that's the way mine came. So unfortunately, you can see a dust speck. I think it's on the left side of the video. Now let's see here. Let's go ahead and show you the weight differences here. So as you can see here, I put this little iFlight battery strap on here like this because I was flying around with the 300 milliamp hour Happymodel battery that came with the Sailfly, and this one will also work with that. You can also do a bigger 450 3S if you want to, but I just flew this with the 300 milliamp hour 3S. So this battery strap does add a little bit of extra weight. It probably should be a little bit less. So it's coming in at 45. Now, my model came with this battery strap here, and it's from Fullspeed. I think you're supposed to run the battery strap underneath, well, through this little slot here, and then on the other side of this bottom plate, but the video transmitter here is in the way, so I wasn't able to get that battery strap in there. So If you're able to figure out a way to do that, then I guess you could save a little bit of weight, but if you use a regular battery strip like I'm doing here, then it's going to come in at 45 grams, and it is quite a bit heavier than the Sailfly. So from that video, if you saw that I was coming in at 35.5 grams, so it's about 9, and at least in my setup here, about 9.5 grams heavier, and that makes a difference. So the differences here, getting right into the comparisons, 1102 9000 kV motors on the Sailfly, so a little bit higher kV but a little bit smaller. Also, this whole thing weighs a lot less. Got 1103 8000 kV, a little less kV, a little bit bigger motor. Honestly, hard to tell the difference between the motor sizes because of the weight differences. You do get the top end feels a little bit better on the Sailfly, because especially if you're doing kind of acro moves. The bigger motor here does feel a little bit better in the turns, and of course with the stretch checks here, it's supposed to help with the racing. Now honestly, at this size, I can't really tell much of a difference in terms of how it feels in turns between these two. They seem pretty similar because there's not a lot of weight difference here. Yeah, it is about 10 grams of weight difference between this guy, the Sailfly, and the Toothpick, and I think you can tell in terms of the I guess overall speed of it kind of going around. So I flew the Toothpick at the same spot that I flew the Sailfly, so you guys can go and watch the previous video on the Sailfly and see how that speed looks compared to the Toothpick. I flew pretty much the same way at the same park. To give you an idea, it's hard to tell. It does feel a little bit slower, the Toothpick, so if you're all about that ultra speed, then yeah, you're going to want to go for the ultra lightweight Sailfly. But yeah, if you're kind of looking for the stack option here where you can replace parts easier, for example, if you're worried that the Happymodel board is going to burn out on you, and I know a lot of people are concerned about that, then yeah, going with the individual parts would be better. If you like the EOS 2 camera better, of course, then you have to go with the Toothpick versus the all-in-one camera on the Mobulus, which came from the Mobulus 7 on the Sailfly. These are all the kind of differences, the pros and cons. Some people are going to want one versus another. That's just kind of why you have some choices out there, and you're going to have more choices. There's going to be more of these sort of ultra lightweight micro FPV races coming out in the future. Now, I flew the Toothpick with the tune and firmware that it came with, which is a older Betaflight nightly build from December 23rd. And if you're using the newer 10.5.1 configurator, it does not work with this firmware. You won't be able to change any of the settings. You have to go back to the older 10.4 configurator to set this up. If it does come with the older firmware, like it came sent to me. Now, I did send Lewis a message asking him about this, and he hasn't responded yet. I'm hoping that they're going to actually update the tune and the firmware to the full Betaflight 4.0, which came out on April 11th. That I don't know the answer to yet. Hopefully that will be the case. I don't know yet. But if you want to flash Betaflight 4.0 to the Toothpick here, you can use the Maytech F411 target, but you will have to rotate the board 270 degrees in the board orientation settings in the configurator. Otherwise it will flip out on you because it's not the same orientation as the Maytech F411, or at least the way it was installed in here. The firmware that's on here is a proprietary firmware from December 23rd. It's like a Fullspeed Betaflight firmware, and you can't get that anywhere. So I'm assuming that they're going to probably update that, but this is the way it came to me, and that's the flight you're going to see, is the way it came to me. I did the same thing on the Sailfly in the original video for the Sailfly. I flew it with the older firmware that it came with as well. That was like an older December 11th Betaflight 4 RC version, and I had some issues with that firmware and tune. I didn't think it was that great. However, since that video, I have updated the board to the latest Betaflight 4.0, and I have actually done a tune to this, and so now I'm recommending 3S 300 milliamp hours on this one because it does fly much better now on the tune that I will publish later in a future video. In the original video, I was like, well, 2S seems better, and 3S had too much vibrations, but now that I've sort of solved that problem on this guy, I'm recommending 3S over 2S. So that video is going to come out later. This video is not really about the Sailfly, but I just wanted to point that out. Be subscribe to my channel, and you'll be notified later on when this video comes out on the Sailfly with the new tune. That will be posted sometime down the road. I don't know when. Just be ready for that when that comes. You'll get I will post the CLI dump for this once I finish the tune on this guy. Anyway, so that's enough of that. I will do another video later, possibly to update the firmware on this guy as well with a new tune. But as I always do in the first reviews, I will just fly it the way it came to me. And just in case you happen to get the older firmware, you'll get an idea of what you should expect without having to fiddle with the tune, flash stuff, anything like that. Because a lot of people out there, they don't know how to do that kind of stuff, and so when they buy something, they just want to, the reason they buy it and not build it is have it ready to go out of the box, tuned, and fly it. And so you'll get to see how this performs based on the tune that I got out of the box. And whether you get the new one or whether you get the tune that I got or a newer one, I don't know that answer. But in case you do get the same one that I have, you'll see what that performs like in the flight demo. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I'll go ahead and show you some flight footage. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.